All right, we're going to try this again because I just did the video once, but I forgot to turn the headset on. So that'll be a fun memory that I have. All right, hopefully this time you can hear me, because if not, I do not want to have to do this a third time to get the audio. All right, today we're going to continue working with rates and unit rates. We're going to look at some real world situations based on that. So again, we do have a couple of standards that we'll be utilizing today, 6RP3 and 6RP3B. All right, so again, the lesson is going to be set up very similar to how we do lessons in class. We'll provide you with some direct instruction on how to solve problems. Then I'll ask you to pause the video to work on ones on your own, and then resume the video to go over the problems I have you do on your own. All right, so our first one here, a water pump can dispense 120 gallons of water into a tank in 15 minutes. At this rate, how much water will the pump dispense in an hour? All right, so we know that we have 120 gallons in 15 minutes. But then it says how much is dispensed in an hour. So you may have to know some different conversions. Okay? Most of them you should know. If not, go ahead, feel free to do a quick Google search to find the conversion. Well, hopefully you know that in an hour, there are 60 minutes. So if we have 15 minutes, in order to get to 60 minutes, we multiply by 4. So if I'm multiplying the 15 by 4, I also need to multiply the 120 by 4, and 120 times 4 is 480 gallons. And again, remember, with rates and unit rates, you are required to label. That's part of the work that you need to do. All right, so at this time, if you would please pause the video, work through the problem, and then resume when done. All right, so by now you should have an answer to the question. So let's take a look at it. It's very similar to the one we just did. We have a machine that takes 10 minutes to seal 50 boxes. At this rate, how many boxes can the machine seal in an hour? So we know that we have 50 boxes in 10 minutes. And once again, we're going to an hour. And as we established in the last question, we should know that an hour is 60 minutes. So to get from 10 minutes to 60 minutes, you have to multiply by 6, which means you have to multiply the 50 by 6. 50 times 6 is 300. So we should have an answer of 300 boxes. All right, in our next situation here, we have Mr. White, who painted an area of 450 square meters using 6 liters of paint. So we want to know the area painted using 1 liter of paint. So we have 450 square meters, and we've used 6 liters. So we want to get to 1 liter of paint. Well, to get from 6 to 1, we have to divide by 6, which means we're going to divide the 450 by 6. And again, if you have to do your division off to the side, that's okay to do. 6 goes into 45 7 times. 45 minus 42 is 3. 6 goes into 35 times. So you get an answer of 75 square meters. So scroll down a little bit. So we want to know how many liters of paint does Mr. White need for an area of 600 square meters. So we know that it's 75 square meters per 1 liter is based on our answer to part A. And we want to get to 600 square meters. Well, we got to figure out how to get from 75 to 600. Which a good way to figure out how we get from 75 to 600 is to do some division. One of our strategies from earlier this year, when we can't, when the division is not jumping out to us, is to look at the first digits. 7 will not go into 6, but 7 would go into 60 and would go in 8 times. So if we off to the side, we see if 75 times 8 works. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 7 is 56 plus 4 is 60. It does work. So we would multiply 75 times 8 to get 600. So we take 1 times 8 to get 8 liters. All right, so this time, go ahead and pause the video again, get the answer to those two parts, and resume when ready. All right, so you should have an answer to both parts of this question. So we have a machine that can fill 16 identical ketchup bottles with ketchup in 2 minutes. So at this rate, how many bottles can the machine fill per minute? Well, if it's 16 in 2 minutes, it's 8 bottles in 1 minute. And at this rate, how many minutes will the machine take to fill 64 bottles? Well, if they can do 8 bottles in 1 minute, as our answer to part A, to get to 64, 8 times 8 is 64, so it will take you 8 minutes. All right, so now we have a table showing how much we pay for parking. Okay? And when you have a table that's showing the different rates that you would pay, look at how it's broken down. Well, this one says first hour, second hour, after the second hour. So this table is broken down per hour. So one strategy that you could utilize is to look at the hours that you have. So he's there at 9. So he goes from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, and 1 to 2. Well, it says the first hour is free. That's going to be $0. The second hour, which is 10 to 11, that's $1.75. And then after the second hour, it's $2.50 per hour. So we have each hour being $2.50. And so to figure out how much he pays, we add all those together. Well, 5 plus 3 zeros is 5. 3 5s are 15, plus 7 is 22. 4 2s are 8, plus 1 is 9. So Blake pays $9.25. Okay, so this time go ahead and pause the video, answer this question about Tyler's bicycle rental, and when you're ready, resume the video. Okay, you should have an answer to how much Tyler's going to pay to rent the bicycle. So there's a couple ways that you can actually do this one. Okay. First is kind of taking what we just talked about. We have hour and then we have half hour. So the first hour would be 10 to 11, and then we're going by half hours. So that'd be 11 to 11:30, 11:30 to 12, 12 to 12:30, 12:30 to 1, 1 to 1:30, and then 1:30 to 2. Okay. Well, for the first hour, it's $3. And then every half hour after that is $2.50. Okay. Now, something else you could do on this one, if you recognize that that's a half hour, and you look at it as 1 hour, well, if a half hour is $2.50, 1 hour would be $5. So you could take it and go from 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, and 1 to 2. So the first hour is $3, and then it's $5 after that. Well, 3 5s is 15, plus 3 is $18. And if you did it this way, these two would give you 5, these two would give you 5, these two would give you 5, and we have our 3 for a total here of $18 as well. All right, this one is basically what our bonus question was last time on the last homework assignment. So you should already have a worked example similar to this that you can refer to. So now you'll have a second example. And we're going to try to figure out if it's battery A or brand B, which is a better buy. So brand A, excuse me, costs $3.20 and claims batteries will last for 20 hours. Brand B costs $2.80 and they go for 14 hours. Which of the brands is a better buy? So I would suggest looking at it at cost per hour. So if we look at brand A, that costs $3.20 per hour. We do our division. We're going to find out that brand A costs us 16 cents per hour of whatever we do. Gaming, brushing our teeth, whatever, remote control car, whatever we use our batteries for. So brand B is $2.80 for 14 hours. So we figure out our cost per hour. And we find that brand B costs us 20 cents per hour. So our choice is brand A because we're going to pay less per hour than we do for brand B. All right, go ahead and pause the video here, find the answer to number 1, and then resume when ready. All right, you should have an answer to figure out which player scores more points per game. We have Haley, who has 87 points in 5 games. So we take 87, divide it by 5. And we get Haley with 17.4 points per game. Bianca has 45 points in 2 games. So we do our division over here. And we see that Bianca has 22.5 points per game. So the question says, which of the 2 players scored more points per game? It is Bianca. All right, for these next set of questions, we're going to take our work with line graphs and what we know about the coordinate plane. And we're going to take our knowledge of rates, unit rates, and kind of combine those into one. So Gabriel saves an equal amount of money every week. Good for you, Gabriel. And the graph shows the total amount of money Gabriel saves in 8 weeks. So we want to figure out how much Gabriel saves every week. So if we look here, here's our 1 week, but it kind of hits right there. Doesn't really tell us for sure how much that is per week. So we do want to find an actual intersection, like what we have right here. Okay? And from that intersection, we see that it's $10 and it's been 2 weeks. So if we have $10 in 2 weeks, every week, it would be $5. And we can just double check that by after 4 weeks, it's at 20. So that would give you $5 per week. And then we want to know how many weeks it'll take Gabriel to save a total of $80. Well, we can use what we have here of $10 every 2 weeks. You would have to take 10 times 8 to get 80. So we would take 2 times 8 to get 16 weeks. Weights of different masses were attached to the end of a spring. The line graph shows how the length of the spring changed with the mass of the weight attached. So for part A, we want to know the original length of the spring. So the original length is what it is before any weight is attached. Well, since mass is our horizontal axis, when we have 0 mass, we're up here at 15. So it's 15 centimeters because that's where it's at with 0 mass. That would be the original length before anything is attached. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit so I can give myself some room to work for part B here. Excuse me. So how much did the length of the spring increase for each gram of weight attached? Okay, so here's where you have to read this very, very carefully. Okay, we want to know how much did the length of the spring increase for each gram of weight attached. Well, right here is where we have our intersection. Okay, now you'll notice that for the weight, it's at 50. And for the length, it's at 18. But it's asking how much did the spring increase? Okay. It didn't increase 18, it increased by 3 because it started at 15. Okay. Well, that's 3 centimeters that increased per 50 grams. Okay. Now, in all of our work with rates, we've always divided by that second number. And that's going to be the same thing here. We're going to divide by the second number. Okay. So yes, we are going to take 3 and divide it by 50. Oops, sorry about that. Just trying to give myself a little bit extra room here, which means 50 is our divisor, 3 is our dividend. But 50 won't go into 3, it won't go into 3.0, but it will go into 3.00, it goes in 6 times, and so for each gram, it increases by 0.06 centimeters. Because to go from 15 to 18, it went up by 3 centimeters at 50 grams a piece. All right, go ahead and pause the video here. Answer those 2 questions on this line graph. All right, so you should have an answer to those 2 questions about the line graph. So if we take a look at what we have here, since we're talking about water, let's use some blue. Let's scroll this up a little bit, give myself a little bit more room to write. All right. So we want to find the volume of water that leaks from the faucet each minute. Okay. So here we have that intersection point. But again, we're looking for how much water leaks. So hopefully you didn't use 1410. Because if you use 1410, that's not telling how much is leaking. Okay? At 0 minutes, you had 1600. At 10 minutes, you had 1400. So that means 200 milliliters leaked in 10 minutes, which gives you a leak of 20 milliliters per minute. So we want to find the time in hours and minutes it will take for the tank to become empty. Well, the tank has 1,600 gallons, or 1,600 milliliters. It's leaking at 20 milliliters per minute. 20 would go into 168 times. You get 160. Bring the 0 up. So that's 80 minutes. It says in hours and minutes. Well, there are 60 minutes in an hour. So it's 1 hour, 20 minutes. All right, and our final one here. Go ahead and pause the video. Resume when ready. All right, so you should be ready to go. Okay. So we want to find the amount in Thai baht that can be exchanged for $1 US. So again, we want to use that intersection point here. And we see that we have 300 Thai baht. And that's for 10 US dollars. Divide both those by 10. So we get 30 Thai bahts. Aki paid 1,560 Thai baht for a full day in Bangkok. How much did he pay in US dollars? So here's where we would take that 1,560. We're going to divide it by 30. Since they both end in zeros, we can get rid of those zeros. We see that 156 is made up of 15 and 6. Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So he would pay $52. And for part C, which exchange rate is more favorable for a tourist who wants to exchange US dollars for Thai baht? Explain your answer. So money changer A, 3,000 Thai bahts for every 100 US dollars. Well, if we get rid of those zeros, get rid of those 2 zeros. For money changer A, it's 30 Thai baht. And then for money changer B, again, we get rid of our zeros and we take 372 divided by 12, so that's a 3, that's 36. That's 31. So I would get 31 Thai bahts per dollar. Money changer B, because you get more Thai bahts per dollar. All right, that's all for today's lesson. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, I hope to see you guys soon.